momento prego la chiamano per una collettiva. Bleiben Sie bitte am Apparat, Sie werden für ein Konferenzgespräch verlangt. Un instant s'il vous plaît, on vous demande pour une conversation conférence.
Pronto? Ciao Poppy! Adesso vi passo Chiara!
We're going on a tour around the world. It'll take a bit of time because the world's quite big.
È una conferenza telefonica.
It's a conference call where I give a strong spiritual thought that we can live together. When we call the zones and they answer, hello, how are you? So it's the life of a family. It's wonderful. Its aim is to help us go on a holy journey, a journey towards holiness.
Erano I tempi di guerra.
It was wartime. Everything collapsed before our eyes. We were young, we had dreams for the future. Houses, studies, loved ones, careers. Everything was destroyed. The Lord was speaking one of His eternal words to us. All is vanity, nothing but vanity. It was from that complete destruction of all that had been so precious to our hearts that our ideal was born. It was easy to speak of this ideal when everything that could have attracted us spoke of death. We felt that only one ideal was true and immortal. It was God. Seeing the hatred that was causing everything to collapse, we suddenly saw clearly the one who does not die. And we saw Him and loved Him in His essence, God as love.
This is how the story of the focolare movement began. And it's always worth going back to our roots to understand the real meaning of our lives today. We chose this text of Chiara Lubich because we are living in troubled times, full of problems facing the whole world, and also where people themselves feel disorientated. That's why I like to think of this link-up as a place where we can meet together and share our struggles, our pain, but also our dreams and our hopes to be able to leave here as part of that change that all of us in the world are waiting for. We want to thank Federico from the Centre for the Gen 3 and the Teens for Unity. I'm Sarah Maloney. I live in Rome and I work for Italian television. And now we begin our journey. We're going to Argentina, I'm a bit moved, I'm afraid. We're going to Argentina, to a place called Lincoln, a town 300 kilometers from Buenos Aires, to discover in a whole new way the joy of building a house.
I remember that my youngest son said to me, "It's great that we're going to have a house that's all ours. And it's great I can say to other people, my mum made it."
Today, my dream of a lifetime is coming true, to have a house of my own.
In fact, we never really thought about it. We always had rented accommodation, or else we lived with relatives.
This project began in 2019 in Lincoln, a city in Argentina where a group of families had a dream to have a house of their own like many Argentinians. And we reached out to this dream, weaving a fraternal network, bonds of inclusion and commitment so that this right could become a reality. We did it with plans, work, dedication, love, ideas, and enthusiasm. Then the pandemic came. But we went ahead.
Con la articulación constante entre Caritas Nacional,
through a regular collaboration with the National Centre of Caritas, with the government, the local church, the region of the town of Lincoln, the architects and the Friends of the Economy of Communion, unity grew stronger and stronger. And so the self-build project called Domus, in which residents participated, was launched, and those families saw their dreams becoming reality. They began to come together, to keep in touch with one another, and to generate a fraternal community. Their dreams were transformed into new friendships, into construction, gastronomy, culture, primary healthcare. That piece of land was filled with desires, and also with material, trucks, hands, energy, tools and hopes. The houses, built by the owners themselves, began to spring up. Naturally, there were difficulties. But we started again more strongly, with more love, because we were building much more than houses. We were building relationships, reciprocity, bonds, ecology.
We built citizenship, and after 11 months, each house was anxiously waiting for its family. It's moving to see how today that piece of land has been transformed, and together with it, we too have been transformed.
We want to thank the network of partners for telling us about the Domus project, which is now continuing. In Argentina, in the city of Bragado, we're now hoping to build 50 new houses. We'll now look at another piece of land, which has been transformed in a different way. Destroyed by the terrible earthquake that struck Syria and Turkey on the 6th of February. In Turkey, the earthquake has affected over 13 million people. More than 45,000 people have been confirmed dead, and 1.5 million have been displaced. A few days ago, we were in the editorial office of the Link Up and we made a video call. We'll now hear from Nuran, from Istanbul, and from the small focolare community in Iskenderun, one of the hardest hit cities. They'll tell us how they're living this tragedy.
Deprem bölgesi olan İskenderun'la Antakya'dan hepinize selamlar.
Greetings to all of you from Iskenderun and Antakya, which are in the zones affected by the earthquake. When this devastating earthquake struck, we were terrified. We took refuge in part of our cathedral and saw that most of it had been almost completely destroyed. It was such a shock for us. We saw too that many mosques had been destroyed, as well as many churches in our region. We felt we were the living foundation of the church, and from that moment on, with great love, we opened up the bishop's house to the earthquake victims. For the first few days, there was a huge crowd there, and we shared what food we had. There weren't only Christians, but also many of our Muslim brothers and sisters, people we knew, and others we didn't. We had no electricity, no phone lines, and no internet for the first 3 days, and no water for the first 3 weeks.
İlk 3 hafta suyumuz yoktu.
After the second earthquake, we started to share the material aid that we'd received from Turkey and the rest of the world. In addition to the hot meals given to those who from the first day had taken refuge in our church, we also distributed hot meals to those who were outside in tents and cars. Now we distribute it to about 150 people twice a day, at noon and in the evening.
We too were victims of the earthquake. We too experienced that great disaster. The fact that we survived was a blessing from God. Instead of going to other towns and cities, we stayed in our own town and gave a hand to those who needed help right here. We also set up a school project for the teachers and students who've stayed in our town, because the schools have been closed since day one, and it's not clear when they will reopen. We ask you to continue praying for us.
Bye bye. Ciao a tutti, grazie. Grazie.
Now we're going to Istanbul, a city over 1,000 kilometers away, and we'll hear from Nuran, who'll tell us how the community in Istanbul responded in this tragic situation.
Hello, I'm Nuran. Like my friends, I'm from Iskenderun. I met a family I knew who came here to Istanbul. We got together with Christians and Muslims to help people. We gave material help and moral support. This family spent 3 days in the rubble, under the rubble, without eating or drinking and in the cold. In those days, a fundraising campaign started in Italy, and they sent us material goods with which we were able to help about 20 families. Thank you all for your prayers and your support.
Thank you very much, Nuran. The situation in Syria is even more dramatic because the intensity of the earthquake didn't even manage to stop the war that's gripped this people for 12 years now. And as if that were not enough, the international embargo has made access to humanitarian aid even more complex. We'll hear from Mari Malouf from the Aleppo community. Hi, Mari. You're Brazilian, and you've been in Aleppo for 2 years. What was it like for you and for the city of Aleppo to wake up on the morning of the 6th of February?
Hello, everyone. Yes, the earthquake really came in the middle of this terrible situation, and the first question we asked ourselves was why? Why Syria again? And then, once more, we listened to the suffering of the people. And as they asked themselves, why has God abandoned us? We felt we had really reached the limit of endurance.
But in a situation like this, Mari, can you find the strength and the courage to start again?
Yes, I've seen that you can. Because after this first period of such great suffering, you could say we saw miracles happening. Miracles brought about through the love that led so many people to help each other. On the same day as the earthquake, churches, mosques and schools opened their doors to welcome people. Neighbours helped each other. Wherever there was a focolare community, they said they were available to welcome those affected. Economic help also came from other cities, from Damascus, for example. Even though they too have economic problems, they wanted to send their contribution. Fadi, who's from the city of Latakia, who's an engineer, started doing inspections to see if people could go back into their homes. Many volunteers went to visit the elderly who'd stayed in their homes all the time. With the young people of the Aleppo community, we set up what we called an energy cafe, so as to have a place where we could get together to recharge our energies, so that then we could go out again to love others. Now we're all working together for the RISE project, which means Get Up Again. It's a project that sets out to address various needs. There's still so much work to do in providing psychological support, because now, more than a month after the earthquake, there are still thousands of people who can't go back to their homes because they're still traumatized. One very important thing is that we really have to thank all of you, this big family of ours, for all that you have sent us, not only the financial help, the material goods, but also your support, your closeness and your affection. So really, on behalf of everybody, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. We're close to you, to all of you in Syria and in Turkey, and we also want to help practically. If anyone wants to, you can contribute through the extraordinary fundraising effort set up by the Emergency Coordination Committee of the Focolare movement, through the NGOs Action for a United World and for New Families. So far, we've raised €580,000. We've seen how poverty, natural disasters, wars and unforeseen events can make us experience despair, and we feel powerless and fragile like every human being. But all this can be overcome with the strength of our being together. This strength expresses itself through simple, everyday choices, personal, silent ones that have the power to change our lives. As happened to Jean-Paul from Burundi. Let's listen to him.
Yes, I walk with this crutch. That not only reminds me that I am not completely healed. The crutch reminds me not to forget the love of God. That meeting with Jesus Forsaken. You see, this crutch, I like it a lot. I like it a lot, and I think it adds to who I am. My experience began on the evening of May 2nd, 2015. I had met a young man who was 20 or 25 who was asking for help to return to his neighborhood. I knew that the neighborhood was dangerous for a young person, and that at the time, in 2015, there were several demonstrations in that area. So I offered to give him a bed for the night, and the next day I would show him the neighborhood. When we arrived near the university where I was studying, I met 6 people who jumped on me and beat me. I woke up when I was laying in a ditch, paralyzed from here down. It was this young man who pulled me out. I laid down on the road, and he did everything he could so that somebody would take me to the hospital. During that night, while lying on the stretcher, I remembered Chiara's meditation on Jesus Forsaken. When the priest asked her, "When did Jesus suffer the most?" and Chiara answered, "In the Garden of Gethsemane." But the priest said, "No, it was on the cross." The meditation sparked a feeling in me that I could not understand. From that moment on, I experienced a joy that I myself was not able to express. I started living the present moment in Burundi, and 2 weeks later, I was transferred to Rwanda. I really met Jesus. I would say physically. I remember that I left Burundi on May 12, 2015, and on the morning of the 13th, the borders were closed. If I had not left Burundi on the 12th, I would have stayed there. I found out that I had a rather serious injury. So there was an urgent need for an operation. And the doctor told me, you need to find money for this operation. When I was in Bujumbura, the Gen came to see me together at the focolare. So they started thinking, what can we do? And they decided to send a message that there was a Gen from Burundi who had suffered an accident and needed an urgent operation. So Gen from all over the world, everywhere, started to contribute. The day after the operation, the doctor came to me and said, Jean-Paul, you can continue with physiotherapy. We will help you so that you can sit in the wheelchair. I thought, no way. And in my heart, I thought, no, it's not possible. Then I said, doctor, I will walk again. When you do physiotherapy, the pain increases instead of decreasing. But I felt confident because with all the steps forward I had taken, I had experienced that Jesus with me. Then I said to myself, the next step will also go well. And so, step by step, until I was able to walk with only one crutch. I can say that this healing experience is the result of love and unity. We know that God is love, but when you experience it yourself, you see exactly that God truly loves us immensely. This love gave me the courage to forgive those who tried to kill me. Because when you don't forgive, you can't continue to experience the joy that I had. And when I had the courage to forgive, I felt that I was free. There is no excuse. I have no excuse not to love. I have no excuse for not loving my neighbor, for not being a good Christian. But I have been lucky. Through my friends who are in Belgium, I can continue my physiotherapy and also have a small operation on my toes because they still hurt. Before my accident, I was studying civil engineering. In Uganda, I completed my studies, and afterwards, I tried to look for work and to continue on the path of my vocation. Maybe marriage? I think so. When somebody sees me with this crutch, they dare to ask me, Jean-Paul, what happened? And I have the courage to talk to them, to tell them about the love of God.
Grazie Jean-Paul, grazie perché ci hai mostrato come attraverso le cose semplici, come una stampella, possiamo ricordarci di essere amati da un Dio che tutto può. Questa può sembrare una scelta affascinante, attraente da un lato, ma dall'altro ci fa fare
and also seem beyond our possibilities in everyday life. Let's listen to what Chiara Lubich said about this in 2002.
El Salvador, Singapore.
Saluti della comunità che è qui che ti sta ascoltando.
Hello from me too to everybody.
Manila.
What time is it there? It was 8 o'clock in America, but we're one just the same, no matter what time it is.
Grazie, grazie.
Thank you, thank you. In the link-up, we truly experience love that reaches out and comes back because of how thankful you are and the way you make it your own. In specific circumstances, an excellent prayer that we can say with renewed enthusiasm and with all our mind and heart is, "You, Lord, are my only good." In fact, we all realize that quite often, while we are working, writing, speaking, or resting, or doing something else, that some slight attachment can creep into our hearts, attachment to ourselves, to things, to people. Giving into these would be a terrible setback for our spiritual life. St. John of the Cross said, "It makes no difference whether a bird is held down by a thread or by a rope. However fine the thread is, the bird is bound as if by a cord, until it can break it to fly away." And he continues saying, "It's the same for a person who is bound to something. Despite all their virtues, they will never achieve the freedom of union with God." In these situations, we must really act immediately, and nothing can be more helpful, this is a recent experience of mine, than to say often to Jesus forsaken, "You, Lord, are my only good. My only good. I have no other." I believe this is a very important prayer and extremely pleasing to God. It prevents us from being covered with the dust of earthly things. In living this, we are amazed. I'm always struck by this and always have been, by how that phrase, "Only you, Lord, are my only good," gives a solemn change of direction to our spiritual life. It immediately puts us straight, as if it were the trustworthy needle in the compass of our journey towards God. Moreover, this way of acting is very much in line with our spirituality, in which the positive aspect prevails. By living what is good, whatever is wrong disappears. We are not so much called to detach ourselves from something, from ourselves or things or people, but to fill ourselves with something, with love for Him who is everything for us. Instead of saying no, we prefer to say yes. This prayer, "You, Lord, are my only good," is a wonderful way to live as true Christians who love God with all their heart and soul and not half-heartedly. It's also a sublime way to prepare ourselves for all the times we meet Him in His daily inspirations. It will also prepare us for our solemn meeting with Him at the dawn of that eternal day when the only thing that matters will be our love for God and for Him, our love for every neighbour. You, Lord, are my only good. What wisdom, what understanding, what light, what strength, what love, what perfection there is in those few words. May the Lord grant us to experience all the power contained in them.
Grazie Chiara. Grazie Chiara.
Ecco qui. Ho la gioia di stare con Margaret
I'm
Karram.
very happy to be here with Margaret Karram, the president of the focolare movement. Welcome, Margaret.
Margaret, a me hanno colpito tanto.
I was very struck by Chiara's words when she said, we're not so much called to detach ourselves from things, from ourselves or from people, but to fill ourselves, because we're not people of no, but of yes. What did this thought inspire in you?
I made a few notes, because this thought made me make a very deep examination of conscience. You, Lord, are my only good. It's Psalm 15 that Chiara is quoting. And I knew that this was the thought for the link-up. So this week I was trying to put it into practice. I was trying to live it and to repeat it several times a day. And I asked myself, what is my only good? What is my only good? And several things came to mind. The movement as a whole, the focolare, my family, peace. Maybe these are all things that are beautiful and important, but I felt that these things are not my only good. So I thought, truly, this thought of Chiara's is so apt for now. I saw it that it's just right for this time of Lent, because what Chiara's just said to us puts us back into God and helps us to take the step of returning to Him, who is our only good, who gives meaning to all that we do. So I felt that I wanted to say, He is the absolute good, not all the rest, all the other things. So that's why then the movement, peace, the family, all of these beautiful and very important things have great value in themselves. I don't want to diminish them because they have huge value in themselves. And there are many other things that are a good for me. Health, for example, is a good that we have. We've just heard Jean-Paul's experience. But that to say that God is my only good doesn't diminish the value of all the other things. But this puts us in God and helps us to have this experience. At least for me, this is what happened during these few days. The movement belongs to God, is in God. Peace is in God. I find my family in God. Peace itself is a gift that only God can give us. So I really felt I wanted to make this conversion, which is the title of this thought, which was to change direction. And I felt this strongly, that during Lent now, we should make this change of direction. I wanted to make it in my own life to return to Him, because only He can give this meaning to our life at root. It's only God, truly. And then I found that Chiara's thought that we've heard is really in harmony with a psalm that I've had very much at heart in these last few days, which is Psalm 51, and which says, "Create in me a clean heart, O God, and put a new and right spirit within me. Do not cast me away from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and sustain in me a willing spirit." So I thought, because I took these as words to live for these 40 days of Lent, and when I heard the link-up, it really clicked, something clicked within me, because I thought, if God is my only good, then yes, I will have a clean heart. Yes, I will have a new and right spirit within me. I'll be a generous, a willing spirit. So I want to commit with all of you to choose God as our only good. As Chiara explained to us, it's our Jesus forsaken. He's our only good. So let's commit, all of us together, to love Him more than ever. And I thought this is what renews the whole of us, the whole of ourselves, all our relationships, all the things we propose we want to do, and it prepares us too for Easter. I thought this was the most beautiful thing that we can do, that we can live in this way so as to prepare for a most wonderful Easter. We can let the risen Lord live in us through this continuous prayer to Jesus forsaken, who is our only good. not only that the risen Lord should shine out in us, but that we can truly give him to those people that we meet, the people beside us. So this is what struck me, and this is my wish, my hope, as something I suggest that I want to live with all of you in the world, but that I wish for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, because it's Easter on its way. I thought we won't have another chance to meet together before Easter, so I want to make the most to give these Easter greetings to each of you, and that this change of direction of our life will really bring about a change for us and in the life of the movement. But also the world will be a world with more peace if we've got peace in our hearts first. So we commit ourselves for this. And now we'll go to Portugal, where the young people in Lisbon are preparing the World Youth Day, which will be from the 1st to the 6th of August. And they wanted to greet us. They're coming quick. Only 142 days to go until we're here in Lisbon for the World Youth Day. Are you ready? More than 400,000.
Here in the local community, we're excited to be welcoming so many young people to our city and our homes.
Can also participate in events such as the Rise Up Catechism, the Festival of Youth, and many more. Everything available on lisboa2023.org.
We'll be at this event also trying to leave our mark. And it will be a unique moment to be together with young people from all over the world with the Pope.
And if you haven't registered yet, there's still time. You can do so with your movement, your youth group or your parish.
To participate and join us.
Vamos por todos, hein?
Thank you. We're all on your side. We're with you. Now we've come to the end of our link-up, and I'd like to remind you that we can watch the whole link-up again or separate parts of it on the YouTube channel in different languages. You simply have to click on subscribe and also on the bell so you can keep up to date with the news. And during the coming months, you can also share your news on focolare.org social media. It's always an opportunity to build a sense of family. As Margaret said, the next link-up will be the 10th of June at 2 o'clock Italian time. And then, hot off the press, we'll have an update from Margaret and Jesus to Asia and Oceania that starts in a month's time. In fact, from the 11th of April to the 26th of May, they're visiting Korea, Japan, the Fiji Islands, Australia and Indonesia. A journey characterized by dialogue among Christians and among believers of many different religions. It will be a chance to get to know better the many peoples, cultures, and rich traditions of that part of the world. During their trip, you'll be able to receive updates and news via the website and the social media of focolare.org. Now we're really at the end. really want to. Greetings to everybody all over the world from all of us. And we'll see one another again on the 10th of June.